Hi, everyone, and welcome to Cutting Through. We've got another session asking a little bit. And okay, so Sabby's joined in. Today, we're going to be talking about the difficulty that restaurateurs have been facing recently, not simply because of the pandemic. Hey, Sabby.
Hey, what's up, man?
All good, all good. How are you doing?
Fantastic, fantastic.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the challenges that restaurateurs in India are facing. And so a couple of them quite unusually have spoken about not opening restaurants in India anymore, or actually preferring to open restaurants abroad. Sabyasachi Gorai, who's one of the most prominent chefs in the country, he's a member and he heads several culinary forums and culinary groups. He's also been the culinary director of Olive restaurant in Delhi, and he also consults with a number of restaurants across the country. And Sabby was actually one of the few people who also took this position and took this position publicly. So Sabby, today we want to talk about that and to understand what made you say these things and what is the situation in the market today that has made you feel so despondent or so challenged with India?
See, there are various things, Antoine. As in, of course, I think we're all fairly discontent and unhappy for various reasons. But if you see the way, as in, of course, we're going to speak about the current scenario of COVID. But if you see the string of events that followed, how restaurant industry kept, going down the dwindling path in the last 4 or 5 years. Be it the government policies starting off with an instant demonetization, because as we know 50-60% restaurant business, at least in North India, was cash. Delhi, Gurgaon was 80% cash. Bangalore, it is all plastic money. I think we've lost 2 restaurants in Gurgaon. Between Gurgaon and Delhi, we lost 2 restaurants to demonetization. So I wouldn't say unjust, but yes, ad hoc policies without any planning. That hit us not just business going out, it also made sure that business didn't come back to us for the next 2-3 months. Till such time people changed their money, got the new money back, stabilized. So in a P&L of 12 months, where you have 1 month Shraddh and 1 month, Navratra, so 2 months of vegetarian, and then 1 month of is your elections and your due diligence or whatever. So alcohol license you pay for 12 months, but anywhere between 40 to 50 days is dry day in a year. Right. A month and a half, 2 months is gone there. Then there's 2 months of Navratri and Shraddh. Then there's summers and monsoon. So literally left with 5 to 6 months of business, paying licenses for 12 months for everything. And then in middle of that, you have things like the demonetization coming in, and then the GST coming in. And interestingly, what happened with GST? Anyway, we were struggling after demonetization. Post GST, what happened that the entire country got GST rollback. So you pay GST, you get GST back.
So Sammy, I just want to interrupt over here. And say that the despair that restaurateurs are feeling is not simply about Corona, and it really precedes this quite substantially.
Right. Corona is probably the last nail in the coffin, is the way I look at it. It has been there, and there has been a major disparity. There has been dysfunctional laws. There have been multiple window clearances. To open a restaurant, you have to go break your head door to door. Every state has a different alcohol policy. Like we say, one state, one law, one tax. And why should alcohol have a different policy for every state? Different taxation for every state, different pricing for every state. It's madness. So in this country, to run a food and beverage outlet had become extremely impossible. What happened come this winter? I'll tell you first Delhi scene and then the India scene. Delhi had a severe winter this year. Then we got this crazy riots, and then we had elections. So December onwards, we had no business almost. So December, January, February, there was no business. First week of March, government hello, Rahul says hello. Government decides to close bar on the first week of March on the pretext of COVID. But you're allowed to run the restaurant. Now this happened, like the whole country suffered much later. Delhi closed bars on 5th or 6th of March. Now in a bar and bar cum restaurant, where you have people coming for a drink, having a cocktail or a beer, if you close down the bar, as it is, your restaurants are gone. And then of course the lockdown happened from 22nd. And as we've seen, and that I have been speaking for the longest time, that the restaurant industry has been a neglected industry. I think finally everybody has seen how neglected it is, that the government has not even acknowledged the fact that there are 7.5 crore odd people working, literate, illiterate, across the country, 45, 50 other million of washers, cleaners, helpers, supporting staff.
Right.
And they have all been just left out on the streets, straight on. Some restaurateurs, out of good heart, goodwill, managed to pay for the month of March, but I don't know anybody who managed to pay anything beyond March, because there was no income. And everybody got hit by rentals. We still had to pay the GST. They still had to pay the EMIs. So it was an absolute chaotic scenario post-March. We all are aware, multiple discussions. FHRAI, NRAI has gone up. They've written to the chief ministers. They've written to the home ministers. They've spoken on TV. They've really done their best. They've literally come out on the streets and spoken about it. But I don't think any quarters from any corner has heard anything about restaurants and hotels.
Right. I think one of the things that you actually mentioned, and I think where you are slightly incorrect in that you called this a restaurant industry. And one of the problems really is that the government has not actually acknowledged that it is an industry. The restaurant, it's still a business. And because it's not an industry, it doesn't get all the benefits that an industry would get, isn't it?
We've been asking for a minister and opinion a person to lead and have have a structure, because if you see if it employs more people than Indian Army, Indian Oil, then it had to be called something, right? As in, so many people in the unstructured sector been employed, which is from the small street carts to the tailors to the dhabas to the fancy olives that we can look at. It's one sector, and then there is diaspora of people from different financial background of this country comes to work. And interestingly, a lot of them comes to work from small towns, hinterland, and that they're the ones who got affected the most. See, look at us. We came back to our homes and sat in the comfort. Okay, we didn't we ate less. Maybe we stopped drinking our fine scotches, but we didn't have to walk back home, right? A lot of these kids struggled. I know a lot of my boys who worked in Northeast, they took 3.5 months to go back. And it has been heartbreaking to see their struggles in Delhi or Bangalore or wherever they were stuck, how they survived for a month and a half, 2 months with no money, bare amount of food and basic necessities, then to get into quarantine again. They're not struggle for both the sides.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, and it's been quite unremitting, and if I think about it, I mean, it really, it started with the whole alcohol and highway ban. Then it went into GST. Then there was a whole service tax and service charge thing. Then that was followed by the whole, sorry, have you lost me? Yeah. No, so I was saying it started with the whole highway and alcohol thing. It went on to GST, then to the whole Zomato and Swiggy problem, and then the service charge issue, and finally now it is really the COVID issue, which is the only non-government issue really in that sense. Everything else were things that were disruptions caused by the government primarily.
See, even for COVID, I would say slightly beg to differ here, Antoine. I would slightly beg to differ on the COVID part. See, the government took the decision of stopping alcohol service. There's no logic of that, okay? And till date, it has not been opened. Now, worldwide, people have been fighting COVID, but nobody has been able to describe this logic of why bar licenses were taken aback, taken away or rolled back. For reasons that is completely, as in, I would really like somebody to tell me what exactly was the logic or is the logic of India as a democratic country not serving alcohol, but everything opened. First of all, why to shut it? When everything opened, this should also open up. Or we say we are a dry state and a dry country, we are Gujarat, and we will have no alcohol. Then our borders should get sealed, and we should not even have alcohol being sold in the black market during COVID, right? As in, if alcohol was a taboo
Right.
and people were catching more COVID because of drinking alcohol, then there was more alcohol sold in the black market in the 5-6 months of lockdown than it has ever sold. It actually tells me that we are trying to convert the entire country into Gujarat, where there's more black market alcohol than actually the alcohol where the taxes goes to the government.
Correct, correct. I mean, that's a point that I think restaurateurs have been scared of for a very long time, that there is some kind of prohibition that is slyly being induced. But also one of the problems, I mean, service charge and service tax,
Right.
I want to take that up because it's not simply the government that has been against restaurateurs. I think to a certain extent, there's also been a disconnect between restaurateurs and their consumers. And that has become um, a slightly antagonistic kind of relationship. Do you think so?
Look, restaurants and restaurateurs have been demonized. They have been told, "Ki, yaar, ye log, they do all sorts of dirty work. They make money on the sly. They are the people." As in, restaurants have been looked down upon. I don't want to use the word here in an open forum, but I can tell you internationally there are places which gets much better pedestal, which in India would be considered to be like back alley job. In our country, restaurateurs gets much lower than that, and I don't know
Yeah.
why. Like, what has the restaurants done wrong to deserve that kind of a treatment? Everybody thinks these guys are stealing tax. Everybody thinks these guys are making money on the side. Everybody is thinking that these guys are making money and are not giving a single penny either in salaries or in ESIC or in provident fund. I don't know what people do think about restaurants. That restaurateurs are मतलब note छाप रहे हैं बैठ के, restaurant खोला है मतलब note छाप रहे हैं. So these guys don't deserve any kind of due diligence, due credit, and no benefit of doubt. So service charge. Let's talk about service charge for a minute. Now, what happened was, see, if you see international, the tipping is very, very high. Like New York. We eat there. If you don't put 30% at the end of the bill, the waitress comes up to you and gives you a look like, and then asks you, "Sir, is there anything wrong?" And you are embarrassed.
Right.
Like, there's nothing wrong. Then where is my tip? As in, that is not India. We can't do that. We know how we are, right? We are a society where
Right.
you can't go up to a guest and say, "Sir, where is my tip?" in a good restaurant. So, and we saw that as a policy. So till 90s, it was either you tip or you don't tip. Then post that, we said, "Yeah, let's come up with a policy of putting a service charge," because we're putting so much effort, be it changing the linen of the table or the tissue or the cloth or the waiter walking up or the waiter waitress receiving them, sitting them. All this is a part of our cost that salaries can't cover, And today, to the costs have gone through the roof, whether it is sanitation, wipes, fresh mops, fresh wipes, masks, gloves, all that costs are going through the roof. I think post-COVID, you have to add another 20% on hygiene and sanitation. But people were not even happy to pay the 10% of service charge because everybody thought that was something that was illegally put up on. And government also supported it. Government made it a situation by saying, if you like, you pay. If you don't like, don't pay. As if it is something that has been forced. It was never forced. It was just put quietly as a thing. And if you know how the industry works, maximum places keep 50%, minimum places keep 50% to giving away 60, 70, 80. Places that give away 100% to their staff. So it is actually a benefit that goes to a staff, which is waiters, waitresses who work all that poultry, 12, 14,000 rupee salary. They make some money out of it because they have to go back home at 1 in the morning. A lot of the times there's a drop, a lot of the times there isn't one. So they're taking an Uber. There are days they come back early even after going back at 1. So there is no overtime in this industry, right? How do you compensate that? So you compensate that through service charge. And there is nothing wrong in my mind, because if we were, we as Indians, we were to pay 30% tip at the end of a meal, we will feel very bad. We pay that in New York, we pay that in London, but we never do that in Bombay, Delhi or Bangalore.
Right, right. So talking about international places, international destinations, and restaurateurs have talked about how they'd rather open abroad. Do you have any restaurants? Have you worked on any restaurants internationally?
Are you talking about post-COVID?
No, no. Before COVID, did you open any restaurants internationally?
Quite a bit. Bye.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. So how different is the regulatory scenario internationally and in India?
The regulatory issues, because if you see As a country where you can get a license in less than 7 hours for opening restaurants, and in India you take
Hmm.
something like 6 to 8 months to get the same licenses for
Okay.
everything. Damn, my camera is really misbehaving. So one window license in Turkey, for in 7 hours you get
Hmm.
everything. The 25, 26 license. Not that their licenses are lesser than compared to what we alcohol, your food license, your sanitation, hygiene, everything in 7 hours
Hmm.
without bribe. Any restaurant or hotelier in
Wow.
India will tell you that you go through at least 5 to 6 months and minimum 25, 26 windows and many thousand, maybe lakhs of rupees bribe under the table before you can actually get to opening a restaurant. And that is, it was me and my friend, carpets, rugs, paints were done of the restaurant, everything, and we set it up ourselves. Okay, Antoine, me
Yeah.
himself, one boy helping us. All this was done under 4 to 5 days for a 120-seater restaurant, including paint, polish, and
Okay.
everything. Joe, to do that in
Okay.
India, it is at least a 6 months time in India, at least.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it is the ease of work. It is the ease of work. It is the comfort. It is the license. Everything. It is everything that happens uh, internationally that makes you comfortable to open a restaurant. Then it is in India. Everything.
Yeah.
As in,
No,
it's the
that's
licensing.
interesting. Hmm. Yeah, no, that's interesting because I was speaking to another restaurateur from Bombay who last year opened a restaurant in the UK, and he was telling me that the restaurant was supposed to be like end of December or something. They wanted to open before Christmas and New Year, and then they were told like nobody's going to be around at that time, and it's actually you should open around January. So they delayed the opening, and they found that in the first week of January, one of the council members came and visited them, and they were a little surprised. And he said, you were supposed to open on this date. Why haven't you opened?
Right.
Is there some kind of issue? Is there some problem? Can we help you open the restaurant on time?
Correct. Correct.
And he
Correct.
said he was completely baffled. He says nothing like this has ever happened to me in my life. He says when someone has come to me and says like you were supposed to open, pay me the money, then you will open. That is his experience.
Did anybody tell you that through COVID, restaurants in US, I know for sure, UK, I'm not sure. I know in UK, they have been given, US, they have been given grants and soft loans to manage their reopening, and people have been given tax back. I know US have given 1,200 US dollars to everybody at the salary level of 4,000 odd US. They got 1,000 US dollars back, tax back in their account from first week of March as they went into a lockdown. And that is how people have been treated elsewhere in the world, who are people like us, like chefs and restaurateurs and hoteliers. And see, in India we have not even been acknowledged as human beings living in this country. And as in, I know there are times that this has been brought up, and the union ministries and home ministries and have said, no, don't even table it. These are not even subjects to be tabled and discussed. We're much bigger, important things. But bars and restaurants and all is not a subject to be discussed because the country is going through crisis. Why should we discuss bars and restaurants? So it's a very
Right.
strange way that people look at things, or I would say the government look at things, or the political leaders look at things in this country. It's quite a shocker that what exactly have we done wrong? As in, then we should have been told that, okay, dude, don't open restaurants, don't have licenses because it's illegal. It's
Right.
criminal, it's illegal. The other day, Riyaz was saying this, and I laughed because he said, yeah, it is easier to get a license or to open a gun factory than to open a restaurant. So how do you justify this? That what did we do wrong? Where are we going wrong? Why should we be getting the stepmotherly treatment on every single step of our life throughout anything that we want to do?
Right. 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 So, I mean, how does one change this kind of perception? Is it ever going to change in India, or is it really that if nobody stops opening restaurants at that, then the ministry will start to notice?
See, ministry don't care. I think ministry, if with due respect to everybody, I think ministry wants to become this to become a black market. So there will be a lot of money, alcohol money that would be available for everybody. Because restaurants don't really, I guess, give much money, barring the GST rollback and things like that, which I guess it's not really looked upon as an income. I don't know how it has been looked upon. It's quite shocking to me to see that all these revenues that comes to excise and restaurants have not been completely been disregarded, as in all the GST that I am giving. I really want to know where is it going or where is it gone all these years. Initially it was service tax, and now it is GST. Where is all the money gone? If we are doing something illegal and illegitimate, then why and how are we paying so much money to the government?
Correct. But do you think like the all the restaurant associations, the hotelier associations, I know that they're doing a lot of work, but is there anything that they can actually achieve? I mean, apart from just making these representations, is there any possibility of actually achieving something concrete?
I'm sure there is, but Anton, see, look at it this way. Unless you have a voice, our voice is what? Our voice is we all get together, we have a meeting, and then we form an association, and the association writes, which means a request. It's not even an official channel. We must understand that, right? NRA FHLI is the representative of the hotel, restauranting body of this country, but government, it has no government, means it's not a government body. It is not something that is even a semi or a sub-government body. Then why would it, when it comes to that, why would the government or bureaucrats or political leaders would really listen to an association? It could be anybody, right? Any association could come up and say, I would like a change of a law. Tomorrow NGOs could form an association and say, this NGO law should be changed. Or people, selling the Dabbawalas makes an association which already is there and says, I would like to change a law and stop Uber Eats. So I think that way it is, until there's a proper structure been put in terms of a bureaucratic structure or a government structure that has been put, a voice that has been given, it has no value in my mind. For me, I'm very proud of being in these associations, and we voice our opinions very, very strongly, and we've been led very strongly. We had amazing leaders. We've had Riaz, we've had Rahul, we are having the current, bosses who are really voicing our problems and opinion. But if it had helped, then we wouldn't be in this condition. Let's put it that way. We've been voicing our opinions and has been voiced for the longest time, but I haven't seen any help. It has only deteriorated and gone back to worse. I have lost almost all my restaurants in this scenario because money is rolling back, right? And now that there is no income for the past 5-6 months, there is no money to pay rentals. I can't even tell the landlords don't take money, right? Even they are equally at stress.
Exactly.
For landlord, it is his or her, that's their income. How can I say don't take any money from me give me 6 months rent free? It doesn't work like that. And then when you want to reopen these places, 6 months old restaurant which has been shut, there are crazy cases. If you hear people's wires have been cut, ovens, motherboards have gone, refrigerations are gone, exhaust systems have shut down, and it is across the country. Every other restaurant you will talk to, there's grease, exhaust shut down, oven shut down, deep freezers been shutting down, all motherboards of all expensive equipments been eaten up by rats. So all your softwares, chips, everything is gone, from fryers to combi ovens. Everything has to be restarted. Yes, and not one. It's happened by hundreds and thousands. You talk to the bigger companies, they will be able to give you, I don't want to name a lot of them, but they'll give you shocking data. From McDonald's to Domino's, they'll give you shocking data of what has happened in their outlets when they were shut. Right? 5-6 months without maintenance in India is crazy. As in India, without 2 days of jhadu pocha, you know what happens to our houses. So it's not in Sydney, London, New York that there is no dust. And then it has been the worst time of the monsoon and the dust storm and the all the hailstorm and everything that has happened in the last 4-5 months. We've had hell through weather also last 4-5 months. So then in this scenario, let's say you want to reopen it, restaurants get a loan. Government will put a EMI on that loan. Then how do you repay that loan back when you have no income coming from anywhere? And so I will tell you my side of the story. Reopening of each of these outlets will cost nothing less than 50-60 lakhs at least for a 100-seater. At least 50-60 lakhs reopening, because you have pending costs of suppliers, electricities, then 15-20 lakh per restaurant is on alcohol license. We haven't renewed the alcohol license, right? So if you want to renew that, you have to pay that, and in addition to what has happened.
Yeah, correct. You're quite right. And of course, then getting labor back and all of these issues arises. But right now, a lot of people are talking about 50, 40% of restaurants closing and restaurants being shut down. Frankly, I would peg the figure to be much higher, closer to maybe 60 or 70%. What is your estimate of how much damage has been done?
See, we let's see if tomorrow, as the alcohol, I'm told alcohol will finally open up coming week or so. We will see how many people actually roll back, because the from July 8 or June 8, whenever that thing opened up, and then finally the restaurants are asked to open or were given a chance to open, hardly anybody has reopened, or whoever has reopened has shut down and has gone
Yeah.
into something like takeaway mode and stuff like that. Like successful big restaurants of ours that I was running in Bangalore, even I can see them have not really done much. And that is the case with everybody, all the big groups and the big names. Now with alcohol
Yeah.
coming back, hopefully things will bounce back. But at the same time, I think it is only the funded people who have, somebody saying 80%.
Yeah, Madhulika is saying 70%, Kurush is saying 80%. I was trying to be a bit conservative and I was hoping not to be over there, but I would say yes. I mean, I'd agree 70 to 80% is what we're actually looking at of permanent restaurant closures in India.
See, the funded restaurants and the restaurants who are already on the stock market or like in the stock exchange and all, who have to run because they can't really shut down a company. Either they will merge into something, get bought by somebody else. Only those are the groups who have public money or funds are the ones, even if they're making heavy losses, would have to run, right? Because how do you tell people after borrowing hundreds and thousands of crores that I'm going to shut down
Yeah,
business?
but what is that? That's like 1% of the market, 2% of the market of like funded funds or publicly like traded restaurants. That's hardly anything, isn't it?
So I think those are the guys who does not have a choice and would also have the legs to go further, because they are already halfway into the ocean. So you can't swim back by. Might as well you swim across and hope they do, because I would really love some people to go beyond this and restart, because whoever goes across would be the people who will restart the industry. And from here on, they are going to be the torch bearers of this particular of the kind of scenario that has happened. So all my good wishes, and I really wish them well. Otherwise, the people who are fallen back, I think they have to wait now, fight it out, live today to fight another battle tomorrow, duck, save yourself, save your health, save your funds, save your money, do whatever you can to survive. And maybe a year,
Yeah.
2 year down the line, as the dust storm settles, there will be an opportunity to start small all over again, is the way I am seeing it. So I am bracing myself for maximum impact. It's like a crash impact. Like, it's
Right,
like,
right.
like an air crash kind of. You brace for maximum impact. That's literally what I'm bracing for. I don't think by the end of this, I would have any of my restaurants operational left. But I have started a small home delivery on the side. I'm also not
Right.
really feeling so much bad about it, Antoine, because there's so much suffering that I'm seeing people around me, or staff people, or other people that have been part of this journey with me. So it is the suffering of the people that bothers me. It saddens me. Then a restaurant, because okay, acha hai, chala gaya, we will reopen again. But the suffering
Yeah.
of people can't be brought back. So
Yeah.
something at least should be done to make sure the suffering is, marginalized, or people get some kind of a cushion, be it government, be it semi-government, from somewhere some cushion has to come in for people to, kind of go through these bad times.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And yeah, as Kurush also is pointing out, I mean, restaurants run on like 10 to 15% margins, but if you will be shut for 6 months. It's already 5 months now that you are shut, and there's no chance of things opening. So that's cut away everything really. That's kind of cut the ground beneath your feet, literally. Um, so talking about the new breed of restaurateurs, who are the people who are like, apart from the older guys, the well-funded guys, do you think there's going to be a new crop of people entering the restaurant business, or is it going to be stagnant, or how do you see it evolving into the future?
So, see, of all the bad things, there's one good thing for sure that has happened, Antoine. I was talking to a very dear friend yesterday, and Vishal, he also happened to mention the same. That, it will weed out a lot of the kachra. That a lot of people got into the restaurant industry thinking, oh, it's very cool. I'll be on the page 3. I
Yeah.
will, it'll be glamorous. I'll have multiple girls to chill with. All of that kind of incentives that people get into restaurant industry.
The vanity restaurateur.
Correct. That some political money, some black money, some money that came out by selling some land somewhere, you come in with a bag saying, yeah, I have, let 25 lakhs, let's open a restaurant. That would go away because that money itself has dried up in the market. So whoever now comes back would be very serious players and would be people who will come well researched, They would not be the ones who came in because they thought it was cool and glamorous and they will be on the pastry because the pastry is gone. The glamour is not there anymore. Now it's a fully roughing out because I can tell you, I kid you not, the kind of roughing out that I have done trying to open back just a delivery outlet, Antoine, has been, as in, I don't think I've worked like this right from when I was 18 or 19 in my training days, like, starting the kitchen, opening it with, packing the garbage bags, walking to the garbage dump, coming back, sanitizing the kitchen, starting literally at 7 and, finishing at 8:39, some days at 10. So this 12, 14, 16 grueling hours in these kind of conditions, which is not the best, both in terms of hygiene, sanitation. Half of that time you have to wear a gloves or a mask because you're cooking food for others. You have to be careful both for yourself and then minimal staff, because in one of the kitchens now, trying to maintain social distancing, we maximum have 2 people working in one station, which earlier we had 8 or 10 people. Like a hot kitchen would have 8, 10 people effortlessly. A good big kitchen would have 25, 30. Today we are almost running a similar size menu with 2 people in the hot kitchen and 1 in the pastry. So, and that 2 people come in rotation, so in shifts, so not 3 people coming together in the same shifts. So this crazy madness and the whole trying to be careful, because at the same time you also have the fear that I don't want to get ill or sick, and not that I want to pass it on to anybody else. So keeping so working with the fear is making it worse. That whole, it's, you're weighing down on pressure. It's not just money. It is not just, where is the P&L? Earlier it was the pressure of the P&L and the money or the food. Now it's the hygiene, it's the sanitation, it's the food traveling, because earlier you could serve the food in your restaurant, now it has to travel. Travel means there's more problem, tampering of packaging, rainwater, roads are getting flooded. There's so many other challenges. As in my sleep, I see all this now in my nightmare. Here, bike ruk gaya hai, or barish mein pani aa raha hai upar se, and the packaging has opened up, and somebody's calling saying, and I got a tampered package. It is crazy. As in, I've reached a point where I'm saying, why am I even doing this anymore? Okay. So,
yeah. No, and that's the question that a lot of people will be asking themselves again, because, this is a very good point that you've made. A lot of people don't understand how difficult running a restaurant is. I actually worked at the start, before I started my career as a food writer, I actually worked in kitchens. I did my industrial training, and I said, no way am I joining this industry. This industry is for fools or for desperate people. There is no other middle ground, and I am neither.
True, I 100% agree to that. But good that you didn't join. Otherwise, there would have been a lot of competition with somebody with fine taste. And like yourself, you would have made an amazing restaurateur, and we would have had higher competition than we already have.
So now I'm on the other side of the fence. So I kind of get to give you all grief and kind of help you all pick up your standards. But I mean, it is a very difficult industry, and it's a very difficult life, and unless people are willing to put in that effort, and I hope that is the change that happens. I mean, in the future, because we do need to see a better quality of restaurant in India.
See, everybody talks about, when I went to Milan, the pasta was like that. The Rome, the pizza was so amazing. And New York, that steak. But then somehow it happens the moment. See, also I'll give you some comparatives on the side. It's very middle class and lower middle class comparative, but don't mind me saying it. Like people don't spit people don't spit in London. People don't spit in New York. The same Indians, when they come to India, they get down off the plane, they spit. There's something wrong, okay? People don't mind tipping when they're in New York or in London, because there's a blonde girl who comes to serve you, so it's okay. She deserves tip, but the Indian boy or girl doesn't deserve tip, okay? We are the racist to core. And then we say that we want food like New York and London. There it is 8 dishes in a menu, and you want to kiss the chef's hand after eating, saying, "Yeah, what an amazing menu." Here you want 80 dishes. Otherwise, you go and abuse the chef. And first chance you get out sitting in the restaurant, you write a review on Zomato to abuse the chef and the restaurateur. So this has to be some, some major disparity somewhere. You have to bring in some kind of a standard where, okay, you are not allowed to spit here, you are allowed to swallow, that kind of a thing.
Right. I mean, these are all very, very fair points and things that, we need to consider going forward. So, Sabi, thank you so much for taking your time out and, having this very spirited conversation about the state of things in India. And I'm glad it's been a very honest and kind of frank assessment of what is happening. I think a lot of chefs and restaurateurs are being a little too polite. They're being a little too safe about, actually what the actual situation is. And I'm glad you've kind of actually spoken from your heart and you've spoken honestly about the situation over here. So, thank you so much for spending time this evening. Thank you, everyone.
I just have one passing remark, if I may.
Yeah, please.
So, we are all born fighters. I for sure am. Most restaurateurs are. And nobody minds fighting. And in a fight, there is always a win and a loss, right, Antoine?
Right.
And as men, we know it very, very well. There's always a win and a loss. Nobody minds losing with dignity. You give it a fair shot and lose with dignity. But today I feel that I'm losing without a fair shot. My hands have been tied and I've been thrown in a battlefield. And I'm not even allowed to fight. I'm losing without a dignity. And that is what is bothering me much more than any of this, be it COVID, be it losing my restaurant brands of 10 years, be it my 30 years of career as a chef in this country. I don't mind any of this, but I definitely mind not giving it a fair shot because you really want to fight and lose. And I would continue to fight. I'm an extremely positive man. I will continue to fight, but I just would like to try and loosen up my hands before, I get back into the battlefield all over again.
Well, great. I mean, I hope you do, and I wish you and all the chefs and restaurateurs who are willing to take up this fight and who are keeping up with this fight really to keep the industry going.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us. And I will see all of you guys in a few days. In the meantime, stay safe, stay well.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Cheers. Okay.